on Spotlight. It's the Olympics on steroids.
Anabolic steroids, stimulants, human growth hormones, pharmaceutical free-for-all.
Fans just want to see the fastest.
I would definitely buy a ticket to watch it.
Meet the Olympians putting their bodies on the line.
What's the incentive for you?
For $1 million, I'll juice to the gills and break the world record. It got worldwide coverage.
But not all Olympians are fans.
I've not heard of so much crap in all my life.
People who are going to cheat are probably always going to do it.
Could this controversial competition replace the Olympics?
The Olympics have no chance.
Might have to get this thing lasered off an enhanced logo.
Plus,
Market?
on the road with Crowded House
Wait for me, you two.
for a very special trip down memory lane.
Hello, I'm Michael Usher and welcome to Spotlight. Later tonight, our exclusive interview with Crowded House and their big announcement. Then the man who could be protecting our kids from online predators. So why did Meta stop him? But first, the Olympic Games begin in Paris in a matter of days with thousands of athletes competing in 32 sports. While the Games are supposed to be drug-free, most Aussie athletes will tell you they know they've been up against competitors using performance-enhancing drugs. Well, now one group has decided to level the playing field by allowing all athletes to use those drugs banned by the International Olympic Committee. The Enhanced Games promises to smash world records by pushing the human body to its limit. With big cash rewards on offer, could this alternative games bring about the end of the Olympics? Sarah Greenhalgh and I meet the critics and converts of this radical idea.
Well, not that much has changed, really, in the 100 years since the Olympics was last held in this city. In fact, the more this place stubbornly remains the same, the more the world adores it. Some believe the same can be said for the Olympics themselves, that spectators and athletes love the centuries of tradition. While others argue that the model is now outdated, way too expensive, and facing an almost certain death. You're about to meet the people who believe they have a controversial but modern alternative. A games, they say, for the future.
I do love disruption. I love the opportunity to create change.
Aron D'Souza is Melbourne-born, Oxford-educated and London-based. He's a man who loves to compete, and in the sporting arena, there's no bigger challenge than taking on the IOC, the International Olympic Committee.
The Olympics are the ultimate avenue of human competition. The fastest people in the world go to compete there. And the Olympics celebrate competition, but the IOC has never had competition. And competition is very healthy. You can get blinded by the Olympic rings. It's such this amazing brand, and that everyone just kneels down in reverence to it, from prime ministers to kings to cities to athletes. But actually, when you look behind the curtain, it's not a very sustainable operation.
With escalating costs, debt-ridden host cities and abandoned venues, is the Olympics ripe for disruption?
I can't think of anything like crazier than a business model where you need to build a dozen stadiums and you literally throw them away.
Aron D'Souza and his billionaire investors claim to have the solution, launching the Enhanced Games, a new annual televised event.
The Enhanced Games may sound very futuristic. It may sound like something out of a sci-fi novel, but we are building the future.
Here's how it works. International athletes will compete not for their country, but for themselves. with just 5 sports: track and field, swimming, gymnastics, combat, and weightlifting. Unlike the Olympics, the athletes will be paid. And the biggest difference of all, performance-enhancing drugs, with drug taking not just accepted at the enhanced games, but encouraged.
Athletes want to be with the very best. They want to be the fastest man or woman in the world. They don't want to be the fastest natural man in the world. Sponsors, broadcasters, fans just want to see the fastest.
But surely being the fastest with enhancements comes with a risk to your reputation.
Right now, it seems like it's taboo. In some ways, it was unthinkable 2 years ago before we started this conversation. And now it's becoming increasingly accepted.
Just to be clear, we're talking anabolic steroids, stimulants, human growth hormones, all allowed in your games.
Yes, so we will allow all substances at minimum that are clinically approved and that can be dispensed by physicians.
So a pharmaceutical free-for-all?
No, not a free-for-all in any way.
But what about kids who might be watching their hero smash a world record? The first question they're going to ask is, what is he or she on? And I want to take it.
Clinical supervision is absolutely essential to creating a safe and controlled environment, particularly for young people.
But do you not think that by athletes openly using performance-enhancing drugs like steroids, you are promoting the benefits while downplaying the risks?
No. So right now, the fact that these are all used underground and influencers in particular are only talking about the benefits and without actually properly documenting the risk is the major issue.
The other part of his argument is that drug taking in the Olympics is already rife and tarnishing its reputation.
Call this Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations will now come to order.
Just last month, Olympian Michael Phelps testified at a United States subcommittee hearing.
I want to be able to stand up to the block with somebody next to me and be like, all right, cool, this is me versus you. It's not me versus you and 7 other drugs.
It's going to be China!
The hearing followed revelations about the positive drug tests of 23 Chinese swimmers before the Tokyo Games.
I think if we continue to let this slide any farther, the Olympic Games might not even be there.
Are those 23 Chinese swimmers welcome at your games?
Yes, they would be very welcome.
News of the enhanced games made quite a splash in Australia.
We didn't get to this last on Monday, but like that billionaire who wants to start the steroid Olympics.
When a local satirical podcast covered it, they didn't know this next moment would go viral around the world.
I don't know, obviously, who can we talk to? Who would be able to give you a bit of an insight there, like some sort of a sports science?
Well, I tell you who would have some idea, surely, who is a friend of the show, is the missile.
The missile they're referring to is James Magnussen. An Australian Olympian, once the fastest man in the pool.
I don't know if you saw this yarn a couple of days ago. There was, so there's some like billionaire who wanted to do like the steroid Olympics where everyone's just juiced out of their ass. Did you hear about that?
Yep, I'm across it. What about this, please? How about I'll give you an exclusive here on the show. So what about this? Here's one for the enhanced games. They've said they've got $1 billion person backing them. If they put up $1 million for the 50 freestyle world record, I'll come on board as their first athlete. I'll juice to the gills and I'll break it within 6 months.
Oh! See, now there you go.
Tell me that first reaction. I heard you on the podcast or that radio show when you first heard about this. What did you say exactly?
So I said, keeping in mind this is a satirical sports podcast, for $1 million, I'll juice to the gills and break the world record.
Oh!
My intention was just basically to get a couple of laughs on a podcast, but...
Well, you lit a fuse is what you did.
I lit a fuse, yeah, and I think in some ways, Would the concept of the enhanced games be where it is today without that quote, but without my involvement? Potentially not.
And just like that, Magnussen signed up. The first athlete to join the enhanced games and willingly use drugs to improve his performance. He's also being paid to promote the event.
How do you feel about diving in there today?
This is a time of year when being a swimmer is most challenging. Test the motivation.
Yeah. It's a real fresh 7 degrees. I don't know what it's like in there, but there's a fair bit of steam coming off the water.
I just got told the heater's not working this morning.
No, that's not what you want to hear. Are you feeling fast?
I feel fast. About to find out if it looks fast. I haven't had much video feedback, so hopefully it looks as fast as it feels.
We'll be the judge. Dive on in.
One rule that the Enhanced Games does have is that anything we take has to be FDA approved and prescribed by a doctor. These are not sketchy, things that they're testing on us to see what would happen if we put athletes on this. These are things...
So they're not black market experimental drugs?
No, I will not be going to the boot of a gym junkie in Bondi Junction to get my...
Not some shadowy transaction.
No.
For boost.
No. This will be prescribed by doctors upon strict screening and testing about where is my body at, what can my body handle, how is my body reacting to different things, constant monitoring, constant tinkering with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And if at any point there's something that I don't react well to, or I'm not getting a benefit from, or I'm suffering some kind of side effect, we change tact instantly.
How many athletes have you got signed up?
So we've had over 1,500 athletes express interest in competing at the Games, including about 100 to 150 Olympians who are competing at the Paris Games. And as soon as the Games are over, we're going to be signing formal contracts with them.
Why is James Magnussen, Aaron, the only one who has actually publicly committed his intention to compete at this stage?
Because James approached us. James was extraordinarily brave. And I think James saw his opportunity to frame himself in a historic context and jumped at it.
Alex, how long have you been taking steroids?
Coming up on 5 years as of this autumn, yeah.
To find out what exactly these performance-enhancing drugs can do, we've come to meet powerlifter Alex Girton. The 28-year-old is in training for a competition here in the UK.
I think what's really great about powerlifting is that there are drug-tested federations and there are non-drug-tested federations. So if people want to make the choice to use performance-enhancing drugs, they can do so and they can compete and they can enjoy that competitive atmosphere.
And you're not worried about the bloke next to you taking something because you know he is?
Yeah, exactly. It's if everyone's using, then it's a fair playing field.
Alex openly uses a cocktail of drugs and gets regular health checks. But not everything he takes is FDA approved. In fact, one of the substances isn't even approved for human consumption.
Currently, I am taking 2 different injectable steroids. I'm taking testosterone, and the other injectable steroid I take is a form of nandrolone, NPP, nandrolone phenylpropionate, and I take that at 150 milligrams a week.
So you're relying on the black market for what you take?
I am indeed, yes. Can I get you to chalk my back? I can't reach it myself.
Sure.
So just across where the bar goes, sort of...
Here?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We'll just give it a good old rub.
Yeah, just all the way across, yeah.
It's like colouring in. You're a bit sweaty, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry about that.
Okay, is that good?
Is enough?
Yep, that's perfect.
You've got a nice coat of dusting.
Oh, lovely. Thank
Lovely.
you. That will persist throughout
That
my
is
work
one thing
sets
I
as
didn't
well.
think I'd be doing today. Is there anything you're worried about, Alex?
I don't want to have kids, so fertility isn't an issue.
So you've ruled that out, okay.
Yeah.
What about the increased risk of heart attacks or kidney failure or liver problems?
The cardiovascular risk is very much mitigated by diet and lifestyle habits. They definitely can stress out your liver. Thankfully, that's not something that I have encountered.
Alex, if powerlifting becomes a sport at the Enhanced Games, will you compete?
100%. I compete or I do everything in my power to be there to compete, yes.
But despite Alex's commitment, it's unclear, like so much else about the Enhanced Games, if he'd be a candidate.
You're going to need to be an athlete to compete in these games. You're not talking about a bloke who's at the pub on a Friday night who thinks he can juice up for a month and then go and enter and compete.
Yeah. The way these games came about for me was I was asked the question, could you get any run-of-the-mill athlete for these games, put them on a performance protocol and they come out and break a world record? And I said, madness, absolutely not. You need an athlete that's already at the tippity top, and this is like the cream on top, the cherry on top to break that world record.
The critics will say you're a drug cheat. How will you handle or answer that?
I would say to those critics, this is the first time that there's been a level playing field and I can compete against other drug cheats. I've had my clean career.
What's the incentive for you?
There's a few.
There's one very big one.
Yeah, there's a big one. There's a big one. So $1 million US, say 1.5, 1.6 million AUD to break that world record. Which...
That's one big carrot.
It's a big carrot.
Up next, does this spell the end of the Olympic Games as we know it?
The fastest are at the Enhanced Games. The Olympics have no chance.
Plus, you're also going to start taking the drugs at some point.
Yeah.
When? Do you worry about taking drugs that might affect you badly? Dicing with danger as an Olympic legend hits out.
I've not heard of so much crap in all my life. I'm sad for him. I'm Raylene Boyle and I won 7 Commonwealth golds and 2 silvers, and I also won 3 Olympic silver medals, and I can honestly, with my hand on heart, say I was all drug-free.
Raylene Boyle is one of Australia's top sportswomen of all time, who was constantly competing against drug cheats, snatching gold from her at the Olympics.
I know that my competitor was filled up on oral turinabol, which is high levels of testosterone.
And Boyle gets away fairly well, and so does Stasha. Stasha shows the way early and over on this.
And it wasn't her fault. She had to take it. So I have no bitterness towards her. I actually have bitterness towards both the East German leaders for making people do that and the IOC for not protecting us better. It just isn't my instinct to cheat. Not at all.
So what does she think of the Enhanced Games?
I've not heard of so much crap in all my life about a performance that might beat a natural performance. It's fundamentally wrong.
And she's certainly not alone.
I do think the idea of an Enhanced Games is laughable. The reason why drugs in sport was outlawed and banned is because a cyclist fell off a bike and died.
Well, it's isn't it? Really. If anybody is moronic enough to feel that they want to take part in that, and they are from the traditional philosophical end of our sport, they'll get banned. And they'll get banned for a long time, so I really don't get sleepless nights over it. It's not going to be a page-turner, is it?
Thierry Vildari is a French investigative journalist specialising in doping. They say that all of this risk will be mitigated because there will be doctors clinically supervising the athletes.
Impossible. That's totally bullshit. bullshit. You will have some death on the stadium. It's a gamble, it's a Russian roulette with 6 bullets in the barrel.
It's going to be a whole new world of sports. And then think about this. If we see a 40-year-old James Magnuson breaking the 50-meter world record, what's that going to say to us about aging in our society? And with further improving technologies over the next decade or 2 decades, I'd like to see a 50-year-old and then a 60-year-old run faster or swim faster than the fastest natural human being. Wouldn't that change everything in our society?
Well, I'm about to meet with the scientific advisor for the Enhanced Games, Dr. Michael Sagner. Let's see if he has the same polished, pre-prepared answers as Aron D'Souza. Is it fanciful, though, to suggest that a 60-year-old man could win the 100 metres?
I think that's delusional. We're not there yet. There's no substance on this planet. There's no cocktail of drugs that can do that.
So that's one of those points where you and Dr. D'Souza are
It's
at
completely
odds.
unscientific. It's a nice thing to say, but one day we had access to that would change everything.
But for the moment, it's delusional.
It's completely delusional. It's unscientific.
Have you told him that?
Yeah, he knows that.
It's a good promo line.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It is, yeah. When we talk about performance-enhancing drugs or substances, there's no magic pill that makes you 18 again. Past 30, you have back pain, your knees are hurting, your vision is no longer perfect. There's nothing we can inject for that.
No magic pill.
No magic pill.
But it seems 33-year-old James Magnuson, the only athlete signed up to the Games, hasn't got that memo.
So my specific goal is to restore my 18-year-old body. So we're
Wind back the clock.
Wind back the clock. Yeah, pretty much all those signs of vitality, even as much as libido. Like, you remember what it was like to be an 18-year-old boy.
So there's extra benefits in all of this.
There's benefits.
So what could James realistically achieve?
Quite honestly, I don't think he'll be up in the top 10.
Well, you're going to puff out your chest this time, but you're also going to start taking the drugs at some point.
Yeah.
When and how does that work?
The sooner the better. Again, for me, knowing that athletes are going to be coming from Paris, I would like it to be as soon as possible.
Do you worry about taking drugs that might affect you badly?
The only thing I've thought about is fertility.
It's a serious side effect.
It's a potential side effect that I've thought about. And if that means doing something like freezing sperm before I start the protocol, just as a backup, I think that's a pretty reasonable measure to take.
I just find this really, really terribly sad that a man who's been a great swimmer, sure, he didn't win his gold medal that he wanted, is going to the trouble of doing what he knew he couldn't do as an athlete in the Olympic Games. I'm sad for him.
The Enhanced Games won't have drug testing, but there will be health testing. And Dr. Sagner is in charge of that.
Athletes are going to get tested, and there will be health restrictions, so athletes can get banned if their health markers are not within range. Athletes have to be healthy.
I'll give you a hypothetical situation, Dr. Sagner. What about on the eve of the 100-metre final in the Enhanced Games? This is the feature event of the entire competition. And you've got the star athlete, you look at their results, you say, this guy's not healthy. Will you let him run?
No.
Despite all the giant commercial pressures?
That's the line.
It'd be a tough call. And Mr. D'Souza knows this?
Yeah. That athlete is not going to compete. And the athlete is going to get help.
But by making it transparent, does it make it right?
Is it right to conduct Olympic Games that are televised globally, knowing that about 40% of these athletes or more are using performance-enhancing substances, not talking about it? Is that morally okay?
Paris, toi qui me fais tourner la tête.
Of the millions of people watching these Paris Games, many will be wondering which athletes are clean, which athletes are cheating by doping, and does the difference ultimately decide who ends up on the podium? And then there's the question, if all the athletes were taking performance-enhancing drugs, would the best ones still win anyway?
I guarantee some of the clean athletes would still beat some of the enhanced athletes. They are that good.
Triple M's Rush Hour with Liesl Jones, Liam and Dobbo. Liesl, Paris Olympics. We are very close now.
Very much in sniffing distance.
Liesl Jones, at 15, was the youngest member of the Sydney 2000 Olympic swimming team. Over her stellar career in the pool, she won 3 gold medals.
The pride that I have in the Olympic gold medals that I have achieved, and to do that clean, no one can ever take that away from me, and the persistence and the hard work that it took to achieve that.
Would you compete in an enhanced games?
I would absolutely not compete in an enhanced games, only because I'm just not really willing to put my body on the line.
You've done that.
I've done that, and that's the thing too. Yeah. People think that you can just take whatever it is, any kind of medication or steroids or whatever it is, and you don't have to train. That's not the case. You actually have to do plenty of work, and you have to really train to a high standard.
I guess the question then is, would you buy a ticket to watch it?
I would definitely buy a ticket to watch it. I'm so intrigued by the performances of the athletes.
So Liesl, Brisbane, host of the 2032 Olympics. Might we see a host city of an enhanced games one day?
Wouldn't that be nice if Brisbane were to have the fastest pool?
Brisbane has 8 years to prepare for the 2032 Olympic Games. Costs are already blowing out, north of $10 billion. And there are legitimate questions about whether the city's Olympic dreams could become a nightmare.
I hope that the Olympic brand survives.
Do you think it will?
I don't think it will. And actually, we're Australians having this conversation. This really rests on the Cabinet of Queensland. In 2020, during the height of the pandemic, the government of Queensland, little old Brisbane, got the Olympic Games. And they thought they scored a coup. And the Queensland Organising Committee went around saying, it's going to be zero net cost to the taxpayer. And now we're looking at tens of billions of dollars, and even the transport infrastructure has not been properly priced in. And I think the Queensland Cabinet is going to go the same way that Daniel Andrews went about the Commonwealth Games.
Did you?
I think there's a distinct possibility of that. So I can pull out my reading pack right now and show you that the Queensland Cabinet has taken legal advice about what it would cost to cancel the 2032 Brisbane Olympics.
So if Brisbane cancels, is that the Olympics gone?
Well, when Victoria cancelled the Commonwealth Games, it was the end of the Commonwealth Games.
They still haven't found a host city.
No, and they never will. And so I think the same is true of the Brisbane 32 Olympics. It's absolutely essential that goes forward. And if Brisbane pulls out, the Olympic movement is over.
The Olympic torch is making its way into the heart of Paris for Friday's opening ceremony, with all the fanfare accompanying the start of the Games of the 33rd Olympiad. But will there be a time in our sporting future where we'll be cheering knowingly for drug-fueled athletes? Where do you think realistically it could happen?
There are a couple of countries who have offered support.
Saudi Arabia?
Possibly.
Russia?
Unlikely.
China?
Possibly.
One last question. Do you think the enhanced games will actually go ahead?
I don't know.
Big question mark. And you are 100% confident that it is going to happen?
Oh, I have no doubt that it's going to happen. I wish I could spend more time with you today, but I am going to investor meeting after investor meeting. The biggest venture capitalists, sovereign wealth funds, corporate sponsors in the world are literally throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at us. And they're saying, this is the future, and I want to have a part of it.